In this part two of my stolen election series, I have before you a rather long video. It's from the state election board and it's covering the voter roll situation in Fulton County, but it's also the voter roll situation in all the state of Georgia. Now, this came about because a citizen who was auditing the voter rolls and the voting, because you can do that, he's come across many problems. And the man brought it before the state election board. And the state election board's frustrated as all get out. Now, mind you, two of the main people who have a problem with what's going on are Dr. Janice Johnston and Miss Janelle King, both who mostly are really cool people to listen to, but sometimes they get stuck in the weeds of minutia. I've listened to 10 hours of the state election board at this point. Yes, you're about to hear almost an hour. Those two and John Furbier is the man at the center of the state election board. When you're looking at state election board, he's the center person. Janelle King is the person closest to the camera most of the time that you see it, because most of the time they're not shooting it head on. But if they're shooting it with Furbier in the dead center and everybody straight across, she's the black woman on the right side of your screen. And then you have Dr. Janice Johnston. Both of them are Republican. And let me tell you something. I don't care what their political party is. I They bring up some good points. Like I said, they get stuck in the weeds with minutia. Then you have a man that I'm assuming is a Democrat who happens to most likely be in place of Sarah Tyndall Gosel. Sarah Tyndall Gosel is not there. She is supposed to be, but she isn't there. Um, According to the election board website. And then you have Sally Grubbs, another Republican. So there are at least three Republican members on this website. But the dude that is sitting beside John Furbier, is not does not speak very often. Neither does Sally Grubbs until this video that I'm about to show you. And when you see this, you're going to think that they talk a lot. They don't. Janelle King and Janice Johnston do most of the talking, most of the motions, everything like that. Now, what this issue is over the voter rolls, like I said. Now, the citizen that comes before the committee, the dude with the computer who is trying to figure out what's going on with the voter rolls. Now, this is from 2020 and 2021 election. He's rightfully agitated. The lawyer for Fulton County is making them look bad, making Fulton County look bad. Not the state election board. Fulton County election board is being made to look bad because this lawyer is she's giving answers that aren't truthful. She doesn't know the answers, but she's giving answers for them. But the woman that actually works for the election board, that actually does the day to day, that woman, I agree with Janelle King and Dr. Johnston. That woman, I like her. I don't know if I'd like her in an everyday setting, but I like her. She comes across as real and she honestly answers the questions. But I want you to listen to it all. By the time you're done, if you're wanting to understand what's going on with the voter rolls, you'll understand this. Now, by the way, they keep mentioning something called Jarvis. It wasn't instituted until 2023. They moved everything from the old system into the new system. It's the Georgia voter registration software. It's interesting. But there's some explosiveness at the end of this, but it builds up. You have to understand everything that's been going on. By the way, at this point, there's like uh 7.5 hours that they had been in this meeting by the time they get to this part because they had so much business at this. So it's almost an hour, but it's worth watching, believe me. Hey folks, now that you're at my channel, there are 4 things I would love for you to do. The very first thing is think. Now, I'm the type of person that's not wanting Hobbes's Leviathan. I am not wanting a Maoist or Stalinist government. I am wanting freedom for everybody. So, what I cover, I want you to think about those things. Next, hit like, hit subscribe, because it really, really helps me out. Now, let's get back to the video.
Our next case on the agenda is SCB 2022-068 Fulton County double voter. Welcome back.
Yeah.
You want to read that real quick?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm in a trance.
You need one of these. I'm telling you, you need one of these starbursts.
I'm sorry. Which case is it?
068. 068.
Oh, 068. Got it right here. The Secretary of State's office received from a citizen a list of several electors who potentially have 2 voter identification numbers assigned to one person who may have also cast double ballots in past elections. After the Elections Division refined the list, the Investigations Division received a list of 20 pairs of voters who potentially violated OCGA 21-2-52- repeating voting in the same primary or the same election. And this is the November 3rd, 2020 general election and the January 5th, 2021 general election runoff.
Now I show a whole bunch of respondents on this. Let me call them out.
Well, we had actually, this is a partly continued case, and we had decided on a number of these, and I believe we were left with 2 respondents.
Which 2 are those?
Those 2 are a minute. Ms.
Oh,
Clark.
actually, this was
Clark.
we brought Fulton in and failed to provide documents to the investigator. That's the part that was.
In documents, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
But there were in 2 voters. It was Williams and
Edward Williams.
yes, and Clark, I believe.
Stephanie Clark.
I believe so.
Is Edward Williams here? Or Hyacinth Stephanie Clark? No? You don't want to speak? Okay. All right. So the portion of this was continued based on Fulton County failure to provide documents to investigators. Fulton County have a response for that?
Yes, and if you'll recall, I was here in December for Walker County, and this is the same issue. We could not provide records because they don't exist. These double votes did not happen. There is an issue, and since the last meeting, Fulton County has spoken to the Secretary of State's office. There was an issue when they transferred from ENET to Jarvis with a duplicate record where one of the records was canceled. The voting history has sort of transferred to both the canceled and the active registration in Jarvis. The Secretary of State told staff how they could, outside of Jarvis, locate that. You would have gotten that in your packet of materials where we can look up each of the individual's voter history on the My Voter page. And you can see that only one of the registrations has credit for voting, and then the canceled registration does not have credit for voting for that election. But something has happened with Jarvis where it is showing that these are double voters. But the reason why we could not produce any records of the second vote is because it didn't happen. And this was not, they didn't show up as double votes when the system was still in ENET. This issue started showing up when it transferred to Jarvis. So and I can't speak to the technical, what's happened in the transfer from ENET to Jarvis, but my understanding is when staff talked to the Secretary of State's office and when I was here with Walker County, when we had spoken to the investigator, like they had verified that that was an issue. The county doesn't have access to ENET anymore, but now that we know that we can look it up in My Voter page, and you should have all of the voters that were still remaining on the investigator's report. You can see that only one of their voter registrations is credit, and the canceled registration does not have voter history.
The complainant is Mr. Frazier, right? Could you share with the board your method or your data of how you found what you searched or reviewed and how you came up with the possibility of a double registration and a double vote?
Sure. So these were from back in 2022. I went through the Fulton County voter rolls and I found approximately 10,000 people that were registered more than one time just within Fulton County. So I turned that list in to the county. And when I did that, I simply looked on that voter roll, which was dated before these people were merged, before Jarvis existed. And on that voter roll, and I still have that voter roll here, it showed a date last voted of 11/3/2020 on all 4 IDs. So 2 people, 4 IDs. And again, the voter roll shows a date last voted. So I don't know how there could have been a mix up with Jarvis and with merging if this all happened before Jarvis and before the county even knew they were double registered. So I see different data, but I went on further to prepare for this. And I went on there and I looked at the voter history file before the Jarvis transition. And that also showed credit for all 4 IDs showing the November 2020 election, a vote on that. So again, that's what the data shows before the merge, before anybody knew they were double registered, and before Jarvis. So again, I think that answer, even though that sounds nice and we've got everything fixed, that's just not really the case. But then I went a little bit deeper and I looked at the absentee voter file. And for some of the folks that aren't into the weeds as much, that's the file that's created every night during early voting that shows everyone that has requested an absentee ballot, returned an absentee ballot, and had an absentee ballot counted. I went in that file and only one of those 4 IDs showed that they even requested an absentee ballot. So that's another disconnect in the data. And also I looked at the numbered list of voters, and that's the list that we try to get every election, but the Secretary of State now refuses to give us because they say timestamps compromise ballot security, it's against the law. Well, they have that information, so I think they're admitting they're breaking the law. But at any rate, that the numbered list of voters for election day 2020 in Fulton County does not have any one of those 4 IDs. So what I'm saying is the voter roll pre-merge, the voter history files pre-merge, both show 4 votes each, but the absentee voter file doesn't show that that person that even requested the absentee ballot returned it. So that says no votes there and no votes for the election day voting. So again, it just goes on to show how bad the data is in Georgia, that you can't really audit an election if voter history files, voter rolls, nothing matches, which makes it very difficult to say. I mean, I can't say with any certainty that these people voted at all. But what I can say is the data shows votes and the data shows no votes. So really what we need is a clean system where everybody knows who voted, how they voted, and anybody can do an audit of the election. So that's the biggest problem here. And the other problem is the fact that I, as a citizen, found 10,000 people registered more than once in Fulton County when the ERIC system claims that they find duplicates and merge them. Secretary of State claims they find duplicates and merge those. And the county, according to Georgia law, is supposed to, from time to time, maintain the voter rolls. They failed also. So I think I'm in the wrong position as a citizen to do Eric's job, Secretary of State's job, and Fulton County's job, and then identify or do my best to identify fraud in this state. Everybody's failing, and a citizen should not be doing this job.
Can I ask a question? As far as Fulton County goes, do y'all have data analysts that proactively look at things like this, like what Mr. Frazier does?
We have a policy. I mean, there is a general voter maintenance, voter list maintenance policy that we go through. That was also provided in your packet. Now, I don't know what he's looking at. I haven't, when we get this, all we get is the summary report from the Secretary of State's investigator. I don't have everything that you have. The only thing that is listed in this complaint is that we failed to produce records of the double vote. I'm saying we can't produce records that don't exist.
Right.
Now,
No,
as
I'm
far
wanting
as
to
the-
know.
Right. So if you will look in the packet that you were emailed yesterday, and then I think you got a hard copy today, it reviews just the monthly voter file audit that occurs. And part of that is looking for duplicate records. Part of it's looking for invalid addresses, commercial address records, unmatched precinct assignments. The registrar works with the GIS team and everything on a monthly basis to try and solve those. Now, the department has more information than citizens have as well. For example, you may have what looks like a duplicate, same address, same name. But the voter registration list doesn't show like one's a junior and one's a senior, but they can see that. They can see the birth dates. So sometimes there are items that flag, and then when you look at them, they don't believe it is a duplicate. But you can look at this policy.
Right.
they
And
try and have
fortunately,
those.
with that amount of information that we just got yesterday, even though this case was continued and we didn't have that information previously, I haven't had a chance to comprehensively go through it. But my question is, do you have data analysts, dedicated people in Fulton County Board of Elections and Registration that actively look for issues like this?
It's part of the just regular voter
So that would be a
list maintenance. I mean, it's as a
But you're
department.
not doing it.
I-
Y'all,
I mean-
this is the 3rd month in a row. I mean,
It's
but
like,
you're telling me you're
I-
cleaning every month, but then we're
Well,
getting
it's
voter.
always a process. I mean, the voter list changes all the time. It is always an ongoing process.
That's
People
why I
move,
was
people
asking,
come
but-
back,
but-
we look for
excuse me.
duplicates. It is something that
Excuse-
staff,
The-
okay.
The court reporter has a really hard time getting everybody down when we all speak at the same time. So if we would just
Sorry.
speak one at a time
Now,
so that Madam Court Reporter over there can make sure she gets everybody's comments.
Understood. Excuse me, just a moment. All I said was, do you have dedicated data analysts to stay on top of this. I understand you have routine procedures as far as registration goes, but I'm saying, does Fulton County Board of Elections and Registration have any data analyst, as it is a moving target, as you said, with voter registration, that go through and do in general, like what Mr. Frazier has done? And that would be a yes or a no answer.
I cannot answer that question. I was retained Monday, so I haven't had these kind of
Someone else
detailed
answer.
description, but also I don't know what he is doing. I don't know what databases he's using because we don't receive that from the
He's
Secretary of
using
State.
publicly data.
Investigate.
He is using publicly available data, so you don't have to be anybody special
Right.
to
And
do
there,
what he's doing.
and there are, I'm sorry, there are lots of items that we use. We get the ERIC data, we get information from the Secretary of State, we get obituary records, we get felon records. There's all kinds of items that are used, as well as this process that we've laid out in the policy.
Which is apparently not working.
Respectfully, that is not part of this case. If the state election board wants to open up a separate case, but this case matter was about double voting. And I can tell you that double voting did not occur.
You could say it did not occur,
It-
even though it's showing, so what,
There are, okay, Fulton County was not named as a respondent specifically, although the findings cite that Fulton County may have violated the record retention laws and failure to produce records to the investigator. We cannot produce records that do not exist. And I'm saying I am confident that these double votes did not occur and that these records do not exist. That's why they were not produced. We can't violate the law or produce records that don't exist.
How do you prove what doesn't exist? Now I'm really confused.
You can look, I've provided copies of the My Voter page that demonstrate that there is only one of the voter registrations that has voter credit. The other registrations do not. Now, as to the specifics is exactly what happened with the data migration. I can't answer that specifically. My understanding is the Secretary of State has acknowledged that there is some kind of issue that occurred, which is why they told us, don't pull the merged record up in Jarvis. You need to look at the My Voter page. But I can't speak exactly for the tech people at Secretary of State's office to get a clearer understanding on that.
Would you say that for every voter credit, there must be a paper document that supports that voter credit, that the voter either applied for an absentee ballot,
Correct. For the,
returned a
Right, for the-
signed absentee
yeah.
ballot, or applied for a ballot in person?
we have those records for the one vote. We don't have records of a double vote because they didn't occur. So what the investigator is looking for is that they either came in person one time and voted absentee another time, and they came in both times. They voted once. So we have, as far as I know, we have not, the investigator did not say we did not produce any records. It's that we didn't produce records of this alleged second vote.
Do you have an explanation of why two different voter registrations, presumably the same person, received voter credit, but there's not documentation to prove that to back up that voter credit?
They
Maybe
don't
the Secretary of State's office could provide that information. My understanding is that originally in the original system that it did not show up that way. I don't have that data. We don't have access to ENET anymore to verify that. But I mean, again, this is the same issue that happened in Walker County. Now, they actually had a screenshot still of the ENET because the issue had arisen before they lost access. And I don't believe that this is unique to Walker and Fulton County. I mean, I think this is
Well,
got
they
to
had
be a
evidence.
statewide
and
issue.
They had evidence to back up what they were saying.
Right. And in that case, the investigator had contacted them before they lost access to ENET. So they were able to screenshot it and they kept it. I don't have that here, but I can't believe that it's only Walker and Fulton County this happened to. I think this is probably a wider issue.
Any further questions from the board?
Can I
I
elaborate?
think Mr. Frazier wanted to say,
Yeah,
something.
I just wanted to be very specific. So the data that I'm downloading, because there were some questions, I'm downloading that directly from the Secretary of State's office, the voter history file. Anybody can download that from the Secretary of State's office anytime they want. So that's the voter history. The absentee voter file is right on the Secretary of State site. And the voter rolls that I work with were purchased directly from the Secretary of State site. So I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not making up information. All I'm doing is comparing data files. And the other thing, it was just stated here that the one individual was given credit for voting, and I'm looking at Ms. Hyacinth Clark's absentee voter file. This is a file directly downloaded from the Secretary of State's office, and it shows that she had an application date, a ballot issue date, but no ballot return date, and it says mail-in. So if it was never returned, how was it ever credited? So again, just one more clerical error, if you will, which seems like that's all Fulton County does is run clerical errors. But again, nothing matches. So that's what I'm trying to get to is we've got to raise the standard here to where there can be an audit of an election. Right now, that cannot happen.
So let me ask a question for Fulton County. Do you have, and I ask you about a data analyst, if you're routinely doing these things in Fulton County, which the answer appears to be no.
I can't, I'm sorry, I can't provide you that deal. Again, I was only retained Monday. Maybe there is more. I can provide an updated response to that, but I would have to.
Is
get
there
more
someone here who
information.
might be able to answer that question?
There's no data analyst.
Okay, so is there anyone, that's pretty stunning considering that we have so many issues with illegal people voting in elections, and we have this this double voting issue. I was hoping you would say, yes, you do have a data analyst, and we're working really hard in conjunction with the Secretary of State's office to ensure that Georgia's voter rolls are clean, but that doesn't appear to be the answer. Do you know if there is someone in the Secretary of State's office who is doing this analytical information? Because if there was this issue in transition from ENET to Jarvis, and there's a period of time that there was incorrect information, if I was a county administrator or superintendent or what have you, if I had bad data, I would be knocking on the door of the Secretary of State's office and saying, hey, this is what we found. This is what's incorrect. How do we go about cleaning this up? Do you have a contact at Garvis, who can help us with this issue or this transition from ENET? Or, hey, I think there might be a problem here. Is there anyone from Fulton County who did that with the Secretary of State's office?
We only recently learned that this was an issue in the transition.
How did you
And
learn that?
because we were named as potential double voters, and in researching that, we cannot find evidence that there was a double vote. And then just in investigating and reaching out to the Secretary of State's office. I can't speak for what the Secretary of State is now doing because I think they also recently realized that this was an issue.
So in other words, if Mr. Frazier hadn't lodged this complaint, then you still wouldn't know.
I can't, it's possible. I don't know. And maybe they would have discovered it at some point. I'm sure this is affecting more than 2 counties.
I did reach out to the Secretary of State because I was looking at the voter history as well and saying, hey, you have credited, or there's a credit. I can see where the person voted in person on October 14th, but on November 3rd, 2020, you're showing that the person voted absentee. On November 3rd, you can't vote absentee. So it's got that credit there. And then it had the actual vote. One of the voters came before you last month, Ms. Steiner, and she kept saying, I didn't do that. So going through, I asked the Secretary of State, how is this so that it appears that you have double voting? And they explained to me that anything public facing, you have to go the MVP to show whether or not that person actually voted twice. Everyone, I have provided you with the MVP screenshot showing 1 vote for each person. There is not 2. We don't have a data analyst. We have 14 registration officers that are processing the work. We do have our GIS team that helps us with trying to identify duplicate voters, address issues, people in the wrong, based on zip code, if they're in the wrong precinct. But it's a lot. We are the largest county with 850,000 voters that we are scrubbing the files every single day. We are processing voters every single minute of every day, sometimes 7 days a week.
So tell me your name again, and
My
I'm
name is
so,
Catherine Glenn.
Miss Glenn.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, let me tell you that I believe that you're an honest, forthright person, and I appreciate you coming to the podium because you get the feeling that, you know, you get the attorneys involved sometimes, and it's like, look, let's just talk real stuff. Let's figure out where the problem is. If it's not Fulton County's problem and you're not getting what you need from the Secretary of State's, let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's get real about that.
They're great partners. They're working with the same system that we all are. They do have analysts there that are always trying to make, everyone knows that Jarvis started off with a lot of problems. It's so much better today, and I would never want to go back to ENET now that we have it, and it is better. And we have great partners there, but we're all human working through trying to make it better. All of us, all 159 counties.
Right. I think the reason that it is so alarming with Fulton County, one of the issues is that Fulton County is the largest voting county in the state of Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you can't get it right in Fulton County, it dilutes the votes of everybody else in the state. And it's not fair to the other counties when Fulton is not functioning at its highest and best use. And we want to see Fulton succeed. We want to see Fulton be awesome. We want to see those things happen. However, when it takes a citizen who takes interest to come through and do the investigation, it's a little bit absurd in my view that Fulton is not concentrating on these things or that you don't have a data analyst. I mean, when you see the amount of money that is on the Fulton County budget.
Well, that's
and
for elections.
I get it. I get it. But I've also been down there and had a great meal down there at elections too. You know, I mean, there's no expense spared for Fulton when it comes to your budget and expending money on stuff like that. But if you can't get the voter rolls right, there is a big problem for the rest of the citizens in the state of Georgia. That's what I'm saying.
And I don't disagree with that statement.
I actually feel like you provided some clarity because, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but prior to you coming up, it was being presented as if this, what Mr. Frazier was showing didn't exist, that this never happened. It never existed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
But when you came up, you said, yeah, we did see where it looked as though this person was credited several times. That tidbit of information helps and it goes a long way. Because we know that when we have him showing us data saying that this is what happened, and then your attorney is saying that this never happened, we have no choice but to look at this and say, wait, what's going on? So I'm almost finished. So the point I'm making is that we know that something doesn't sound right. And we just want to know what happened. If you said, look, I found it, because I agree with Member Grubbs. I think that you are a hard worker. I think you try to do your best. I think that, you know, I don't want to pin you between your job, your bosses, so to speak, for lack of a better way to put it, which would be the SOS, and this particular situation. I don't want to do that. But what I will say is that it doesn't sound like you're being supported. I know it may feel that way, but it doesn't look that way. Because if he's pulling SOS data and it's making you look bad and making Fulton County look bad, that's a problem. And it's not just a problem. I don't like that that's happening to you. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure we got more than Mr. Frazier's information is not correct in so many words by telling us that this never happened? Because clearly it did. Something happened.
If I can speak to that. I think what the statement was that it was no double voting, not that this situation didn't happen. I mean, that's the way I heard it.
Well, that's because you
And-
have all the information.
Yes, okay.
Correct. So I want to clarify, when I say it didn't happen, I'm talking about double voting. Double voting did not happen.
Well, you can't
Wait,
say
you
that.
can't
say that.
You can't say that because we both have two people that are saying that, yes, it did show that this person was credited twice.
And that was before
Not-
transition.
Correct. So you can't say it didn't happen emphatically when two people are saying it did.
And it was
I'm sure
before the
current
transition.
records, or at least the public facing records, appear to show that it was double voting.
The current records that
there's-
you don't have
but-
because you just said you don't have access to ENET anymore. So you don't even have
No,
it.
I'm talking about in Jarvis. In Jarvis.
So they're not double
Again,
voting
you look at
today.
My voter page, it does not show two votes.
I mean, is it possible that it was corrected after the fact?
No.
So it shows, so at some point it shows that they were credited to have voted multiple times, but that's really not what
But-
happened.
Also, there are no records of a second vote.
Well, he's
when
holding
this
the record.
Investigation. No, I'm
I've got the voter history file right in front of me from.
when I
before the
say
transition.
no records, I'm talking about there's no second check-in at the poll. Like maybe they came in
Okay.
to vote in person. So there's a record of that vote in person. But then it says they voted a second time. There's not a record of a second.
Mr.
vote.
Frazier, can you see how they voted each time?
Yeah, 3 of the 4 show an absentee vote. And this was the old system doesn't say the day of the vote, at least for us lowly citizens. It just says what method, and it says YNN, which means absentee, not provisional, not supplemental, and that's for 3 of them. The 4th one shows NNN, which means they voted in-person election day. And again,
That's the
Okay.
Right.
But-
Because
So you wouldn't have, well, I mean, I asked that because you were talking about poll pad check-ins and stuff. Well, you wouldn't have that if they were absentee.
Well, there's
You-
absentee in
So-
person and absentee
Right.
by mail. So
Okay.
both of them are considered absentee.
Got it. Right. You're talking about the early voting versus by mail. So, but you're saying it was by mail or was it in person? Do we even know?
So that 4th one, it shows, well, the 3 absentees, I don't know if they voted electronic, which is UOCAVA, or early in person or by mail. I just know that's how the system
showing
was
it.
showing it then.
And they
But
said
the-
that's an error.
But the
And-
4th,
Okay.
so again, another error. Let me just say one thing real quick. If we are just assuming that the voter history files are riddled with errors and the only thing we can trust is my voter page, then you need to make my voter page available to the public. Right now, you have to have a full date of birth,
I agree.
figure that out so that way you can see what is quote unquote real today. Because I mean, they keep saying we can't trust the data that is available to the people, which
Yeah.
means the people do not have the ability to audit an election. That is, again, one more unlawful item that is happening in this state.
Yeah, I
That
just
needs
think
to get
people are
fixed.
tired of clerical errors being the excuse for mistakes.
And when I want to clarify again, when I talk about no records, I'm not talking about his spreadsheet. I'm referring to the background documents that the election department would have.
His spreadsheet that came from the
So-
Secretary of State's office that you could have obtained.
But
To be
I'm
clear, because I don't want to dismiss his work because
No.
you don't have it.
No, I don't disagree. He's getting information that says there's double voting. And I don't disagree that there's something going on that is reflecting in databases that there's double voting.
Okay, just want to make sure it's
But
just a spreadsheet.
When
Make
we
sure we're clear.
research it, when you come in to vote, well, in 2020, you would have been filling out that form. So if you were advanced in person, you fill out that form, we'd have a record of that. If you also submitted an absentee ballot application and submitted an absentee ballot, we would have a record of that. There's not a record of these double votes, essentially, as
Okay.
far as the actual physical, like either checking in person or submitting an absentee ballot. There is the one method of what they used, whether it was in person or not a second. So what I'm saying, there's no records. The actual records of the voting aren't matching the spreadsheet or the database that we were getting from the Secretary of State.
So are you saying that the database has no correlation to actual voting?
I'm saying there's some kind of issue that has happened with people that had at some point a duplicate registration, even when they were merged. So when they're cleaned up and they're merged, like the second registration doesn't just go away or get reassigned to someone else. So something has happened in the database in that it is, even though those records were merged, it's showing credit to both the current registration and the canceled duplicate registration in the database.
So let me ask you one more question. So essentially you're saying something happened during the merge.
Again, that is my understanding from discussions that people have had with the Secretary of State's office.
What people?
Whoever handles, I can't give you specific names. I can probably find that out and send it to you, but
who conveyed that to you?
election staff at both Walker County and then when in Fulton County, and we put in our letter, Fulton County also spoke to them again, and then also
To
Walker
the
County.
SOS?
Yes, to the Secretary of State.
So clearly everybody in Walker and in Fulton, everybody knows there was an issue in the conversion from Enid to Garbus.
Yes, which I don't know that we would have realized that, except that complaints were brought of double voting.
The citizen. That.
Correct. And I don't know how the other one came about, but both of them were Secretary of State investigations that were opened up.
So and you probably won't be able to answer this, but does this change the mindset of boards of election in voter challenges? Because there's been so much pushback on voter challenges when citizens review voter rolls and they find issues like this. It's an automatic pushback and saying that the voter challenges can't be done, even if it's outside the 90 days and even if all the rules are followed. I know in my county of Cobb, they have pushed back and they've even wanted to charge citizens for doing voter challenges. But here we have, the fact that Fulton wouldn't even know had he not done the challenge.
I mean, I can't speak for any of the Board of Elections. I do know a lot of county, if citizens do look at a roll and they think there are duplicates that maybe the county hasn't caught, department, you can always send that to department. Some jurisdictions may require that to be a full voter challenge. Some may just look at it and go ahead and see if there's additional items that they missed that maybe need to be cleaned up. Maybe someone was registered as Janice and someone is Jan, and they can look at the full date of birth, their driver's license, and get that additional information.
But as it stands right now, we can't really say for sure that Mr. Frazier is incorrect in what he's presented.
I mean, it came from the Secretary of State's office.
I would recommend getting additional information from the Secretary of State's office to explain what happened, but the county's records are that one voter card. And I think, like was pointed out with the one where it says voted absentee 3 times on election day, when you can't vote absentee on election day.
Okay.
So I think with permission, I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, my concern is a review of this case suggests that voter credit is really maybe not even correlated to a real vote. And and that questions vote totals. If you're unclear whether vote credit really counts for a vote, how can you declare that there are certain vote totals in the system? And the related election documents, such as numbered list of voters, are not available. I mean, how can you conduct or review or audit an election without a numbered list of voters? Those are the people who came in to vote. And there's nothing secret about who comes in to vote. The only thing that should be secret is how you vote. And to have this either not kept or not provided to correlate with vote totals is, I mean, it's just, I don't understand how anyone could look at an election and say it's accurate in any way. And in review of this data, it shows that there's duplicate registrations, voters that cannot be contacted, vote credit that cannot be substantiated by election documents, absentee ballots sent out to duplicate registrations and not returned, voter registrations by the same person just 18 days apart, vote history that's unreliable, related election documents such as vote affidavits or absentee ballot applications or oaths on the envelopes. Who's seen an oath envelope in years and years? I haven't. A numbered voter list are not available. So the role, my conclusion generally is voter credit is junk data. And, Mr. Frazier, I don't even know why you even look at it. It just,
all they
there's
give
no
us.
correlation. But it all has to do with the voter rolls too, and the accuracy and the currency of voter rolls. That's what's so important. Otherwise, these double registrations just become possible placeholders for somebody to insert a false vote and to digitally or electronically, because we're using all electronic equipment these days to create erroneous vote totals. So, I mean, it just kind of makes it kind of affects one's confidence and trust in the whole reporting system.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question.
Yes.
Um, I realize this specific case is talking about a double voter in the 2020, 6 years ago. And I don't fault Fulton for that in the least in regards to why we're discussing this 6 years later. That's a Secretary of State. I don't know, maybe that's a Mr. Chairman answer our question. Why was this not put on the agenda earlier?
Well, I have no answer for that.
Well, you were making the agenda.
Well, no, I wasn't. No.
Well, I mean, you stated before that you were. I'm just curious as to, we're talking about something that happened 6 years ago. People die, things change, facts change, and on December the 9th and 10th, and I understand, Mr. Chairman, you weren't here then. We had meeting, you had something come up, a personal issue, and Vice Chair Johnson chaired. But in that meeting, Fulton County had a similar issue. Mr. Frazier came up, had a question about voters that were being challenged. In that meeting, Vice Chair Johnston asked Ms. Williams to please come back next month with a report on your scrubbed roll, because Ms. Williams, you told this board that you did a monthly scrub on your voter roll. And I'm not questioning that. I'm just repeating what was shared. It's 3 months later, and we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about why this doesn't match with Mr. Frazier's. And we ask in December 9th and 10th, when Vice Chair Johnson was chairing, she asked you to come back and give a report. And I'm not going to let this go. It's not vindictive. It's not mean. It's simply accountability. Last meeting a month ago, I asked the question about Fulton County's election board. I'm going to ask it again. How many people are on Fulton County's election board?
Currently, there are 4 with 1 vacant seat.
And that has been the same answer for over a year. And I asked that question last month with the other attorney from Fulton County that was here. And I said, I'm going to keep asking it. So you know what? It's the next month and I'm asking it again. What does that board consist of? The 4 members, what does it consist of?
The chair, there are two appointees from the Democratic Party and one from the Republican Party. There's a current vacant seat for the Republican Party. Those appointments are made by the Board of Commissioners. I represent, the Board of Elections. But I mean, I can say there are 4 people. Now, Ms. Williams was not here at the January meeting. They actually was the Fulton County Board of Commissioners. It was their budget session for the elections budget. So she was there for that, for the budget meeting.
I understand that. Mr. Frazier brought up also, I think in a prior meeting, I don't remember the number, but I remember the birthdays of the year 1900 that y'all had. How many people, Mr. Frazier, did
There-
you find? This is not, we don't know if this is true or not. How many people did you find that were listed on the Fulton County voter roll that were born in 1900?
Yeah, so whenever I turned that in, it came directly from the Secretary of State site. All I did was sort the year of birth by, I sort 1910 and before typically, because if you were born in 1910, you're not here. But that number was around 360. Apparently Fulton County's been a little bit busy because as of 2/2, that number is down to 235.
That's
So-
progress. That's great.
They've gotten rid of a third of them at that point, and maybe they've reduced a few more. I'm not sure.
May I speak?
Please.
Okay, so the Secretary of State, they have a new tool to assist us in finding these voters. We did have 367 in one category with the birth date 1/1/1900. I cannot tell you why they ever thought that was a good idea, but these are old registrations. They're not, the applications on those were rejected, should have been rejected. Somehow in the data migration, they pop back up as inactive voters. So I'm having to go in, and even though the application was rejected because they had a bad date of birth, I have to cancel them individually. And yes, in my time that I have available, that's what I'm doing. I am going through all of the lists of things that now this new tool provides us. But yes, someone registered voters, if it didn't have a date of birth, it was 1/1/1900.
Ms.
So-
Lynn, I really like you.
I know. It's,
I
Well-
think you're honest, and I think you are just,
I'm
You're-
doing the work.
you're doing a lot
I'm
with
trying.
a little, I think.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I just want to say that.
But
There is no but. And I will say, and I wish that everyone else would be so forthright. Because we as a board are not here to, go after Fulton County with some kind of vengeance. That's not the case at all. We just want fair, auditable elections. And when we can't get, like Dr. Johnston said, we cannot get the numbered voter list and things like that. And when you're having issues working with the Secretary of State, getting this information, or you're lacking in resources, let's just get real about it. Let's address those issues so that we have free and fair elections in Georgia, because right now we do not. And that's what we need. So thank you for coming to the podium and speaking. I appreciate it.
The chair would entertain a motion at this time.
Really quick,
Yes,
really,
yes,
really
ma'am.
quick. We were talking about ripping the Band-Aid off. I believe that what we're not talking about in the elephant in the room, so to speak, is that it appears that you're suffering from poor leadership from the top. That's what's happening here, because we have people coming up saying, I'm trying my best, I'm doing the work, I'm trying my best, I'm trying my best. And I believe that. I really do. And unfortunately, it looks as though, and it's been super politicized, but it looks as though it's the SEB against Fulton County. And the reason why it looks like that is because we constantly see all of these errors and clerical errors and errors that are coming up. And then the explanation somehow connects back to the Secretary of State's office, who never shows up, who won't come to our meeting, who doesn't even have your back when it comes to this. And I have held my tongue for a long time on saying that, but I am tired of having to hear from people who are like, I'm doing my best, I'm doing my best, when the person that's supposed to ensure that they have all they need to actually do their best is not only not providing that, but also not showing up. And I want you to make your motion because I have another motion behind that because I'm just really tired of not having answers because the people who hold the answer is too busy running around outside doing whatever they're doing and not doing their job.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that this case be continued to next month. And I would like to make a motion that we subpoena the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to come to that meeting and to bring with him whoever he would like to explain how these situations happen and to explain why Miss Glenn and her team that she worked so diligently with at Fulton County, why they are not able to do what needs to be done. And I would like for the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to be subpoenaed to come before us and explain to Mr. Frazier why this migration issue happened with Enid and Garvis and why it's still not fixed and what other counties are affected in the state of Georgia.
Yep. So that we don't have to
The-
keep
the-
having
the-
Fulton County come up here repeatedly. Yeah, sorry.
That would need to be two different motions, I think.
Okay, my first motion is this case be continued to next month.
We have motion to continue this case,
Second.
SCB 2022-068. And we have a second.
My
Any
second-
discussion?
Oh, we got it.
Sorry.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of continuing this case to the March agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, so moved. Hang on a second.
Can I get some clarification? Do you want Fulton County to be here again as a?
We haven't,
to
we got to
answer that?
take the vote.
Okay.
We have voted.
You got to determine if they're going to be a respondent on it, right?
We,
They're on-
But we don't.
they are responding. We voted to
Do we
continue the
need
case.
them to come back?
Yeah, you'll have to come back on this one.
Or can
We voted.
Yeah, we
We didn't
did.
take a vote.
We didn't take a vote.
There was a motion.
There's a
and
motion
second.
and
Oh, I'm sorry. We have motion and second to continue the case. All those in favor signify by saying aye. I thought we
Yeah,
did.
we did. Yeah, aye.
We
Yeah,
did vote.
We did.
Okay, sorry.
voted now.
We double voted.
You want it?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
It seems to be a thing. I'm sorry.
Now,
Okay.
Chair will entertain another motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we issue a subpoena to the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to come before this board and explain these issues as we have discussed with regard to Fulton County and other counties across the state.
We have a
Second,
motion, is there a second? We
second.
have motion and second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, so moved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's time to come on and face it.
Next item on the agenda, well,
It seems that in 2020 and 2021, and even up until today, and before that, there's a problem with the voter rolls in Georgia. Now, Secretary of State for Georgia, this Ben Raffensperger feller, is supposed to be taking care of this problem. He's not. Now, I'm sure he's trying. I'm sure that the people that work for him are trying, but there seems to be a major problem. Now, I've got more things I'm going to be bringing to y'all, but there's a whole lot of stuff going on here that just comes across as bad. And I think that people need to understand that when talking about this election. How many people had been voting that didn't get proper information? How many people were getting a chance? Now, there have been 17 people that have gone or had their day in court over being registered to vote in 2 states and voting in both elections in the state. And state of Georgia is part of that situation. There have been folks that have been found to have not been citizens that have voted. There aren't many in those. But the voter rolls show that there's something else going on, and there may be further information that we're not able to get to because, you heard everything that was going on. I thought I'd bring this to your attention because it's starting to build up to showing you what was going on in Fulton County in 2020 and 2021. The reason I keep saying 2021 is because there are two senators that were elected, both of them Democrats, and all because of the Fulton County election. The largest single voting block in the state of Georgia that had far more say in the stolen election than anybody else. But we're building up the case. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. Hey, folks, before you leave, if you can't become a member via my YouTube channel, which that's for my thinker, I've also got sports. I've got a Patreon. If you really, really want to help me out, I would be much appreciated. But hey, hitting like, hit subscribe, hit commenting, all those things really help me out. Have a good day.